Before I went, I always like to check out the local culture and etiquette and all so that I don't do anything offensive and I'm not offended. So these are some of the things to know before you go to Iceland. For one thing, it's the habit there to just address people by their first name. They're not big on formalities or anything, so don't be offended if they seem overly friendly by just doing that for you. The second one I thought was rather interesting. That it's just normal, so don't be offended if you're walking around and you hear from somebody, because they will just pass gas in public. Nobody seems to be bothered by it.
Is their diet such that they pass a lot of gas? Did you notice?
I never noticed any of it myself, but I guess when you're outside a lot, but even in restaurants, I didn't, and
A lot of fish.
a lot of fish, but I wouldn't think that would,
You didn't feel that you had.
No.
Okay.
no.
Well, I'm just curious.
TMI, we're getting close.
I kind of like that one because I live by myself, and when you're used to living by yourself, sometimes when you're out with other people, you forget that you're in a setting. Yeah, you don't ever want to buy bottled water there. There are some stores that will sell it, but it's a dead giveaway that you're a tourist, because they have the purest water in the world. A lot of it has to do with being filtered through all the volcanic minerals and rocks, and it tastes wonderful. So everything is just tap water. That's what you'll get in restaurants. So yeah, don't waste your money buying bottled water. It's absolutely safe to drink. They use hardly any cash anywhere, even small little street vendors that there are. Everything is just card. Like I said, I always like to have a few extra local dollars with me just in case, but you don't have to worry about it. Icelanders learn English from a very young age. It's second nature to them. They speak it hardly with any accent. So it's a very easy place to go visit if you haven't been traveling internationally or you're a little, concerned about language elsewhere. Like I said, the only time I really heard Icelandic spoken was on the plane when they would do the announcements in multiple languages, and when the driver of our van would be talking to someone on the radio. And without meaning to sound disrespectful to Icelanders, the language sounds like total gibberish. I mean, not even like Chinese, or it's hard to believe that it's actually a language.
It's the Norwegian of 1,000 years ago.
Ooh,
And that's why, I won't even, I usually try and learn a few key words and phrases, and it was just impossible to try and do that. Let's see. I was really surprised at the total lack of wildlife. I first noticed it when we were driving the first day on the Golden Circle tour, because you just see vast fields of snow on either side. And I suddenly realized I don't see any tracks. I don't see any marks where, here you see that constantly. And I asked the guide about it, and that's what he said. They just have Arctic fox and some birds. And every now and then, some poor lost polar bear will swim over from Greenland. So, the next one.
okay.
So this is just a general slide. So let's see, I thought this would work. You can see, let's see. I guess this isn't as
Maybe,
it doesn't show on the thing.
yeah,
All right, well, you can see where Reykjavik is located.
there's my cursor.
Yeah, there you go. And then just below it, where you see the Blue Lagoon and Grindavik, and that is the little village that had to be evacuated because of that volcano.
Yeah,
And you can see how close Blue Lagoon is to that, and that was very much affected by it. In fact, my brother and sister-in-law were going to go to Iceland the December before I did, and they were gonna be at the Blue Lagoon, and they had to cancel because they closed it. I arrived there on a Friday, the day before that volcano erupted again.
Oh,
And as you'll see, on Saturday, I took a helicopter ride over the whole area. And then the slide on the right just shows a lot of where the locations of a lot of the volcanoes are. So it's built almost entirely, I think it came into existence from just volcanoes. Okay, so you can go to the next slide.
okay. Oops.
So this is when I was on the helicopter as we were departing Reykjavik. So that's just a view of it, one of the views seen from the air. I got really lucky. It was a gorgeous day, great visibility. So if you go to the next slide, and that's another view from above. And go to the next one. So there you can see all of that black area, that's lava. By the time, like 2 days later, it had turned from the red molten to black. So those are all just, and you can see there's still some steam
Yeah.
coming off of it. Go to the next slide. So that black is not a river, that's lava. That's where the lava flowed over that road, which is right near the Blue Lagoon. You can see, I think where those plumes are, that's where the Blue Lagoon is. So you can see how close it came to there.
Is that road destroyed at that spot?
It is, I don't know whether, they repaired it or not, because that volcano has erupted several times since then.
Yeah.
You can go to the next slide. These are all volcanoes.
Wow.
Like that, you might initially think they're mountains, but for as far as I can see, they're volcanoes. It's just amazing to see.
Yeah.
And I don't think I included a picture of it, but we flew over some of the open craters. It's really fascinating to see. Go to the next slide. Let's catch up with you here. So one of the main things that most tourists will do is the Golden Circle tour. So this shows all of the different places that you can hit with it. Most tours, and the one I did, just hit 3 main places, the 3 on the top. So the one on the left, I'm not even trying to pronounce it, that's a World Heritage place. That's where I think they had the initial, like 900 years ago, where they would meet for the government. And then Geyser, that's what self-explanatory. Unfortunately, it did not cooperate when we were there, so I didn't really see an eruption. And then Gullfoss, that is an amazing waterfalls. We have pictures of it. So if you go to the next, this is what it looked like driving. There's very little civilization outside of Reykjavik. There's a couple scattered little towns or villages, but it's just, you almost felt like you're on another planet. It's very barren and bare. I certainly was glad that I wasn't doing any driving, because this is a main road connecting you to get to the Golden Circle or wherever. And you can see it's snow covered, and you can see how empty the fields are on either side. But yeah, that's what driving in the winter in Iceland looks like. Go to the next.
So, Paula, what time of year were you there?
I was there right around February 8th. I made a point of going when there would be no moon to try and maximize my chances for the northern, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mainly went in the winter because I wanted to see the northern lights.
Yeah.
So there's that national park I was telling you about. This just, I mean, there's not a lot to see, but one of the things it's noted for is it's where the tectonic plates come together. I didn't see the exact spot. Maybe not in the winter, but there is a time of year when you can stand like with 1 foot on each continent.
Great.
You can go to the next slide. That's just another view. I just thought it was really nice. That time of year, The sun didn't come up till around 10 or so, but by 9:30 it starts getting light. So this is at sunrise.
Mm.
This is in the morning. And it would get dark by around 4:30. So it really wasn't too bad in terms of having daylight hours. Go to the next one. This is the waterfall. And again, it's winter and things are frozen. So it's in these like deep chasms, the way it falls, and it's frozen over. I will say, if you go in the winter, you want to make sure you bring ice tracks for your shoes, because even though these are very visited places, they don't really do much clearing, and there's paths, but they're snow covered, they're uneven, they're icy. This was the most treacherous path, and it was extraordinarily windy, literally hard to stand up windy.
Mm.
And it was really hard getting there. And I was only 6 or 7 months after a knee replacement. So I was really careful, really worried, but it was really beautiful to see. If you go, these are Icelandic horses. Now they're very small, but you're not supposed to call them ponies. They're Icelandic horses. The one on the two on either side, we had stopped on the way back from somewhere because there was a little farm and they were out in the field, and the guide knew we could go out there, and the farmer brought us some treats to give them. And you can see how hairy they are and how well they adapt. And then in the middle, you can see just a couple of people riding them, and those are adults, so it gives you an idea of the size of them, but they're very, very sturdy and used to the cold and very much native to Iceland. Go to the next slide. This was something interesting that the guide showed us. So on the left, you see these are just thermal pools, and they're so hot, the water, that the steam is coming up from them. So people, not as common now, but people use that thermal steam and heat to bake bread.
Oh.
So what you see on the right is bread is in their baking. They dig into there, they put their pot with the dough, and they bury it in that hot sand. The little rock on top is to indicate that there's something under there, and people respect, this is your bread, that's my bread. And they just leave it in there until it's all
Oh,
baked.
that's wonderful.
Yeah, I didn't get to try any that was baked in the indigenous manner, but that's how they did it old school. So this is another one of the tours that a lot of people do that's just called the South Coast Tour. There are drives you can take that go around the entire island, but these are the ones that you can do as day trips from Reykjavik. Go to the next one. So that the waterfalls I saw there reminded me a lot of Taganic Falls. So that's one of the waterfalls there on the left, and then at that same place, as you're walking to the waterfall, you see what looks like just a frozen pond or lake. That's a glacier over there. And if you're there at other times of the year, you can hike the glacier. My one brother did that during the summer. So if you go to the next one, this is, yeah, and again, you can see with the people there, the scope of how big that is. That one very much is like Taganic Falls. I know. That was quite a bit of a walk back, and you can tell from the number of people in there, even though it's winter, they get big crowds there in the winter. I'm sure that, again, the Northern Lights are a big draw. And as much as there's more that you can maybe do in the summer, I personally liked being there in the winter. To me, Iceland is Iceland, and I wanted to see it in the winter.
How cold was it?
It doesn't get as cold as people think. Most days I was there during the day, it would get to 30, maybe a little above 30.
It's in the middle of the water, so
Yeah.
it will keep the temperature.
Yeah, so nights were very cold, especially if you're out and it's clear. I mean, I was wearing thermal underwear and everything, you know, you could think of. And it's very windy at night. And again, when you're looking for the northern lights, you're out away from everything. So there's nothing to break the wind. And I could only take 5 minutes or so outside, and then I'd have to run into the van to warm up. But I actually, you know, it was pretty nice.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any snowfall while I was there. One of the things that surprised me, considering that they do get a lot of snow, is that I didn't find that the streets and the sidewalks are really all that well cleared. There's just patches of snow and ice everywhere. It's not like,
Well, probably nothing ever melts, and probably they don't salt the way we do.
I'm sure they
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
Do you have any?
But
idea-
everybody has a vehicle that's prepared for that.
Yeah.
Do you know by any chance geologically what kind of rock we have sedimentary on our waterfalls, and it kind of looks like sedimentary rock, but
Oh,
being
they-
that there's so many volcanoes,
Well,
probably.
there was something somewhere where, because you'll see in one of the other slides, they have these almost prehistoric Celtic looking rock formations.
Mhm.
But I can't remember what they said those were made of, but
I don't-
Balsic or something like that. But no, I don't know what they're,
But it
it'd be
you would think
volcanic.
it wouldn't be sedimentary.
Right,
Because
because
sedimentary
sedimentary is-
requires
That's always
it be
water.
sanitary.
Yeah, like an old ocean.
But these are all volcanic.
Volcanic, so I
So
think
it's
it'd
more
be
likely
porous.
to be
Lava.
basalt,
Yeah,
lava
and basalt, yeah.
flows, yeah.
Yeah, that would make sense. So if you go to the next, so
Oops,
this. oh,
back
go
to this one. Yeah.
This is another thing that you'd see on the South Tour, which is a very popular black sand beach. It really is, it's black sand, and then behind me, you can see there's a huge cave there
Mm.
Mm.
that you can walk into, and in the background, you can see what I was talking about, some of those structures that just,
Yeah.
they look,
They do.
they reminded me a little like Stonehenge or
You s-
something like
You
that.
see some similar things off the north coast of Cornwall.
That's what I said, they remind me of Celtic.
And it's these basalt lava flows have a tendency to
Mhm.
fracture in
Okay,
vertically. And so there's a thing called the Bedruthian Steps in Cornwall, and it looks exactly
and
like,
I saw several things like that,
and that's also where you get the black sand.
and I mean, I found them fascinating, because I like the whole Celtic Middle Ages type
Yeah.
thing, so. And yeah, on the next slide, you can see some more, yeah,
Yeah.
they just,
Wow.
so, yeah, they were just really, really interesting,
Hawaii has
To
black
see.
beaches too.
so. If you go to the next, so yeah, that's about the extent of the northern lights that I saw there. I actually saw it better here a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So, you can book all different kinds of northern light excursions, and almost all of them will guarantee you, if you don't see it, you can go back again for free, but since most people are only there for a limited time, I did 2 excursions where we went out at night, and then one where we went out on a boat out into the open water, where you're even further away from any light pollution. It was extremely cold out on the water.
Mm.
And, you know, we did have good conditions all the nights, but,
And it depends on the sun.
Yeah.
and one of the reasons I wanted to go in 2024 was that was supposed to be
The
where the,
solar maximum.
yeah, I figured the right year and the right time of the month.
Yeah, so in fact, the solar maximum and minimum is on an 11-year cycle, and the last one was peaked in 24-25.
Yeah, so I was hoping, I didn't know until I went, and the guide tells you all this. You know, when you see pictures like this and you see pictures and videos, most of the time you can't see it with your naked eye.
That's right,
Yeah.
people who get it on the cameras.
Yeah.
Cameras is
Yeah,
actually
the
really
iPhone will
good.
pick it up.
Well, even the guide, there's certain things the guides know to look for a certain type of glow in the sky. but then they'll take their phone cameras and they keep taking pictures. And I mean, the pictures that I and others got of this Northern Lights here, they look glorious. I mean, I got fuchsias and green, that I couldn't see them without taking the
Yeah,
pictures.
yeah.
So, but yeah, that was the extent. If you go to the next one, there's just a little bit
Yeah.
more, but that was pretty much it. So I'm glad, I didn't need to go all the way to Iceland to see them. But I was glad I went. I mean, I really liked, like I said, I really liked Iceland. So if you go to the next one, so yeah, Icelandic cuisine. Most people wouldn't really think that, it's not like, Italy and France and all, and they are limited because of their isolation and what they can grow. They grow very little in the way of vegetables and things themselves. It's one reason food and dining out can be expensive there, because so much of it has to be brought in. Obviously, seafood, they have, you name it, and of course the cold fresh waters, the seafood is excellent. They do raise a lot of lamb, and the lamb is exceptionally good. Skyr, I'm sure most people have seen that in stores, and it's their form of yogurt, but it's so much better. And the thing that it was the best Icelandic hot dogs.
Oh, no.
Who knew?
Yeah.
It's also about the cheapest way you can eat. As you can see, they're made from a combination of lots of different meats, and they're just on a plain bun, but they're topped with all of those different things. You can get them in any gas station, stop, rest anywhere, but the best place to get them, fortunately for me, was only like a 5-minute walk from my hotel, is this very unpretentious little shack. It's not even a shack, it's like a stand. Bill Clinton ate them there. In a future slide, there's a picture of it. They're very inexpensive, and they are really, really good. Icelandic rye bread. It's not rye bread like we think of. It's almost like black bread. Very, very dark, very dense, and it has a really lovely sweetness to it. Yeah, it's not that dissimilar from pumpernickel. Now, some of the stuff I obviously did not try. Fermented shark. I mean, suppose just opening, it comes almost like in a jar they set in front of you, and just even the smell of it it was not something I wanted to try. They're very big on licorice. You go into any shop, any store, and there'll be tons and tons of all different kinds of licorice. They love licorice. And ice cream, but everybody loves ice cream.
Yeah.
We did stop at a farm that makes their own ice cream and got some ice cream. I mean, I eat ice cream all year round, so that wasn't a surprise. So if you go, so that's the place on the right where you get the best hot dogs in Iceland. And that's what they look like, just simple like that, but it's hard to explain. They were only at that time maybe $3-4 US dollars. There was actually an article in the New York Times a couple months ago doing a whole thing about Icelandic hot dogs, because the global economy is such that even the prices of those are going up. And it had pictures of this place. So go on. So my first morning there, before I could check into my hotel, I went down the street, and yes, I had my first breakfast there. It was just so simple, but so unbelievably good. And then, fish stew was another place. I also, before I go any place, because I'm into food, I check out all the food, the places that are known for the different dishes. So that's where I got these things. So, next slide. So there on the left, you see that's the Icelandic rye bread, and it's very common to have it like that with just smoked salmon, sometimes just plain salted butter on it. It was really good. And then fish and chips, again, anything having to do with seafood, they do really well. And the next slide. I happen to love lamb. I know it's not everybody's taste, so I made sure to sample a lot of it. And that was the best lamb burger I've ever had. It was so good. And then at that same restaurant, I went back and they have these lamb flatbreads that were really, really good. The next slide. So shopping, that's another big thing everyone loves to do there, or at least most people. Iceland isn't known for a lot of things that you would bring back as souvenirs. I brought the most iconic thing. People can't see it, but the Icelandic sweaters.
I can hold it up over here, and I think
Yeah.
if you people can see, I'll try to hold it where it's in focus, but there,
Well, and you want to look at the label, because one of the things that you have to be careful of is there are knockoffs even sold in Iceland where it's not really the wool from their lamb, their sheep. And there's something about the wool, it's extremely water resistant, very
Beautiful.
warm. I mean, everybody in Iceland has one of these. And the best place to get them, at least from my research, there is the Hand Knitting Association of Iceland. So they have a shop in the main shopping district and one other location. And you go in there and I mean, it's hard to imagine how many sweaters they have. Most of them are pullover. This one's a button down. Every color, every size, every configuration, design. It is kind of an itchy wool, but it is really warm. It takes very little care. It's almost, they're considered heirloom items. I mean, you know, they'll last for decades. Or
the buttons are
I
amazing.
had one
Yeah.
by Schrank.
Oh, see, and I was told to not wash it. If I get a stain or something, to just wipe it out. You don't even have to wash them. They're pretty indestructible.
Yeah, I bought some Icelandic wool years ago and made kind of a poncho, and it still exists. I mean, it's
Yeah,
indestructible.
I mean, they're not cheap, but you know, if you figure it out over how long it's gonna last you, it was worth it. Some of the other things that they are known for, because of the purity of the water and all the minerals and the volcanic minerals, are things, cosmetics and hand and body lotions. In fact, I bought a lot of those, you know, to bring back as gifts and to try. And there's a moisturizer that I tried that I think it's just the smell of it is just so lovely, herbal, that I order it from Iceland. And then you see, I'm not sure the pronunciation, Laga Vigor. It's the main shopping district. It's several little streets, lots of cafes, restaurants, all kinds of nice little shops. And that's the very iconic Rainbow Street that they have there. So everybody wants to visit that. And you can see that's all in that area, all the shops and stuff. It was a very charming area. You can spend quite a lot of time there just browsing and enjoying it. I think that's all I have for slides. Any questions? You know, I said, I really loved it. I stayed at a very nice little boutique hotel right in the heart of the old city. And it felt like you're right in a neighborhood with the square and you get to know, it was just, I just felt very much at home there. It is expensive there, although that boutique hotel, considering the location, was quite reasonable. But yeah, it's not an inexpensive place to visit, but
Did you see any puffins?
did not, but I only was on the water that one time at night. So no, I did not see any puffins like you got to see when you were.
Somebody gave me
When we were there, on the circle tour, we did stop at a place that was a puffin breeding ground. But this was at a different time of the year. However, these puffins were so comfortable with people, you almost had the feeling that you were taking their picture, and you might not be able to see their cameras, but someplace they were taking yours.
A friend of mine came back from Iceland and gave me a cookbook. He brought a cookbook back with the strangest things in it. And there's no way you could ever replicate the dishes that were in the cookbook here. but one of them was stuffed puffin, and I was like,
Oh,
oh.
no.
That's just mean.
I will warn people if you go, the airport that you fly in and out of, because there's really just the one. It's very chaotic at the departure end of it. You know, like here we have gates and you line, they have gates, but they're close together and there's no delineation and it's just a mob and you have no idea whether you're in the right.
Sounds like the old commuter terminal in Philadelphia.
It was, yeah, just trying to figure out where to go, and it's a nice airport. It is, it was probably about a 45-minute ride from there to Reykjavik. And most of the excursions that you book, you know, they have different pickup and drop off points. I was staying just a 5-minute walk from the city hall, which is a main pickup and drop off place. So it was really easy to go there and get, but it can be also really confusing at the larger places like that because there's so many different tour companies and so many different tours. You have to make sure that you're getting on the right one or that you don't. I actually missed my bus to take me back to the airport because it didn't have a sign and yeah, that was a little bit frantic, but
We just flew Icelandic Airlines to Scotland, and for no extra cost, we stopped off in Iceland for 3 days and just
Wow.
booked day tours.
Icelandic Air
Okay.
does that. Yeah, they offer that a lot where it's no fees. Yeah, you
and
can do
stayed in a
that.
B&B.
Yeah, you can interrupt, you can stop on the way and then just pick up and go, which is a great way to do it. I wasn't that impressed with Icelandic Air. I mean, I was in the cheap seats, but considering it was an international flight, although it's not an exceptionally long one
Right.
compared to others, there was like no service, no nothing. But it was interesting listening to the announcements in Icelandic.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that-
So, I mean, I definitely recommend going and don't be afraid to go in the winter. You know, just bring the right clothing
Yeah.
and be prepared. But I think you're kind of seeing the real Iceland.
yeah,
Although, again, I have family and friends who have been in the summer and it's beautiful when you see it with all the greenery and all. And there are definitely activities. I did not go to any of the lagoons. Blue Lagoon was closed, but there are others closer in and near Reykjavik. One of the things, so if you do go to them, they are Icelanders in general. They are very, very big on cleanliness and hygiene. So every single person, you have to strip down naked and shower in a big communal place before you can go into the lagoon. And believe me, they're checking and making sure. So if you're a shy or modest person, that might not be your cup of tea.
well, thank you, Paula. That was fantastic. We're good. Yay. It's really good. So now Marcia is going to tell us about, and she hasn't seen the slideshow because she sent me the pictures and I put them together. So it's all going to be a surprise. Whoops, where did it go? There it is.
I know.
I know. This is the ice theme.
Ice is extreme. Now we're going to extreme.
So
So actually, we did this in the easiest possible way. And so we did a cruise. We had been on this ship actually in the past, and it's perfectly lovely. You know, cruise travel has some downsides. You're mostly going past things and dipping 2 toes, you know, but you're only in places for a really brief time. But it's also so incredibly easy that it's almost a no-brainer, you know. This ship had about 1,200 people. There was nothing about it that was unpleasant. The service was lovely. The people were lovely. Everybody was friendly. The food was quite good. I understand that this is a foodie line. I'm not a foodie, so I just was excited that they were serving it and taking away the dirty dishes, and it was just a pleasure. It was interesting to be on a cruise in this experience because it really is a moving landscape. So this trip, the ports that we stopped in, they really weren't places, you know. They were places in Chile that became places only because cruise ships stopped there. So it was, you know, a lot of ladies doing handcraft that you could purchase, but probably didn't want it for many, you know, for any reason. The sights, however, were magnificent. Oh, there are some penguins. My takeaway really, and I have said this to anyone who's asked me about it, I'm not a spiritual person in any way. But my takeaway from this was that before people screwed it up, the earth is a lovely, beautiful place. And here I was in a place that essentially didn't have people to speak of. You know, a lot of what we passed was totally uninhabited, except by penguins. And that was sort of the whole reason that I went. The penguins are adorable. I mean, they are just as adorable as you ever thought they were. So one of the places, so you see those sort of little moundy things, those penguins. So that probably was Bertha's Beach, which is a place that penguins come to breed, and baby penguins, their task is to wait it out until their downy feathers leave and their waterproof feathers come in. And as there are more and more waterproof feathers, they are able to test going into the water and start to fish for themselves. So when they come out, they sort of ploof down wherever they are. And so when we first saw them, we saw penguins like that kind of standing up and strutting around. But we also saw these mounds and we thought, oh, how sad. Look, so many of them are dead. And then the dead ones got up and started to strut around as well. And they are totally fearless, totally fearless. They come closer to me than I am to you. It was truly, that was, I have to say, the thrill of a lifetime. I never, you know, I'm from Brooklyn. I never dreamed in my life that I would be this close to a penguin. So sea lions, they are exactly as they look. They are totally unattractive, very smelly, and they make very loud noises. They always seem to be grouchy. Unlike, you got to know from this that I'm no kind of naturalist, but penguins always look happy and sea lions always look grumpy. So all things considered, I think I'd rather live with the penguins. That
Are
was
we
kind of,
supposed to be viewing slides?
Oh, you're not
Because-
seeing them?
We're not
Oh.
seeing them. No,
Oh,
Phyllis
let me,
just went into
Carol,
the
Oh.
chat,
sorry, they're
yeah,
beautiful.
we'll,
not seeing any.
let's see, what do I need to do here?
Is it about screen share?
Yeah, it must be the screen share thing. Okay, so I'm gonna just go back to sharing. Let's see, share. And then
Thanks, Carol.
Okay, so let me see if I can find it. Desktop one. Share.
Hey.
Oh, good. Okay, let me go back and hit a few that we missed here. Just real quickly, I think. Are you guys seeing it?
Yep.
Okay, so maybe what I'm gonna have to do is, okay. So I'll review these and then I'll figure out what I need to do here. These were pictures of the cruise ship. Maybe I can do a tools slideshow, play from start. Are you still seeing it?
Yep.
Okay. So this is the ship that Marcia was talking about. And it's just a stunning view of the planet.
Wow.
And here we have winds. I'm sorry you didn't see this before when Marcia was explaining it.
These are they.
Yep.
Oh,
Numbers.
No, they are Gentoo. They're about
Oh.
3.5 feet high. So they're not intimidating in any way. They positively come right up to you. I think, although we certainly were discouraged from, nor would I, touching them, and they said they have, I don't know, some all kind of ticks that probably don't jump from species to species anyway, but we were told not to. So you kind of keep your distance about 2 feet, but they're shorter than I am. You know, the reason I was a nursery school teacher was I always wanted to teach kids that were littler than I. So these were totally unintimidating. I felt I had seen my true friends. And that was kind of where we
That's where
left
we-
off. And
Yeah, that's where we
tried to
discovered
fly.
no one was
Yes,
seeing
we
anything.
couldn't see. Yes, so that was another thing, you know, those ice mounds. I'm sorry, icebergs, yes, yes,
So did
Yes,
they, did they say how much was underneath the water?
very a
9
lot,
tenths.
What is very clear.
yes.
And you can see all of the
It's-
icebergs underneath.
It's so clean and so pristine. No one yet has muddied it up with their, you know, with their crap and their garbage and their everything else. It's just absolutely beautiful.
Well, and also there's no algae vegetation or anything like that.
Nothing.
Leave nothing but footprints, take nothing but photos.
Yeah,
Martha, there is algae,
there is.
and I don't know if these slides, show, but they're in various hues, green, reds, yellows.
Oh.
They are there.
When you look at the icebergs, they more than anything look like ice sculptures, you know, in anticipation of this trip. When I thought about seeing icebergs, and I thought to myself, oh, you know, big deal, mountains of snow and ice. But oh, they are beautiful, both in contour and color. And that is the algae.
So many different sizes and
Mhm.
shapes.
Yeah,
Those are cormorants.
Corals?
yeah, birds that dive
Yeah.
into the water with their long necks and grab their fish.
Yeah.
Ah. My sister took this. We just could not resist. Aren't they? I mean, how could you not love it?
That's so cute.
And you almost felt like they knew how adorable they were. And here were those other creatures that come to look at us on a regular and ongoing basis. So let's show them what we could do. And they pirouette and they flap and they just,
It's like that Larson cartoon with the cows.
Oops. Oh, here we go.
our ship,
Yep.
Marty taking pictures. So you can see what Marty is wearing and actually what everybody else is wearing. So we probably were in Antarctica at that point. That was when we spent a lot of time on the deck. In preparation for this trip, I was so focused on I didn't want to be cold. So I had a suitcase full of every warm item from lined boots to many hats and earmuffs. What I did not consider was that I was also going to be in warm places because when you're in Chile, it was 85 degrees. I had one t-shirt that I washed repeatedly.
So how cold was it at the coldest?
Um, I would say between 25 and 35. So really compared, there were days when it was warmer in Antarctica than on the same day
Yeah.
it was colder in Ithaca. And had I really realized that, I would have been far less sensitive what I packed. But every time I thought Antarctica, I put another warm sweater in.
What month?
Uh,
February,
February, right, because it's their
Yeah,
summer.
that's their summer.
Yeah, so the other exciting thing was Wales. We saw how many different kinds? Mark,
Three,
three?
4,
Yeah,
5.
we didn't see any super largest ones.
The humpbacks?
I can't tell you the truth what that one is, but we were so excited at first when we saw them, and everyone we took a picture of as if it was going to be any different than the picture that we just took before. And after a while, it was, oh, yeah,
Another one.
another
It
whale.
was like when I was in Africa with elephants, it's like another elephant.
Yes, we're very easily jaded, apparently.
And there they are.
Yes, I have no idea where we are actually. Where were we?
We were on a mating island where they came to lay their eggs.
The penguins. did.
Penguin.
Penguins.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
okay.
Yeah.
It was okay. Never mind. But as you could see, I was warmly dressed.
Yes. And that's the last slide.
Oh, and that's the last
So-
slide. Okay.
So Marcia had no idea what
None.
order they were gonna
None,
be in.
because I didn't know how to look. So that's my own
So how
stupidity.
many days was the cruise?
18, I think.
Yeah,
So
Uh,
we
actually a little bit longer, about 20.
Where did you get on the boat?
We got on the ship in Santiago, Chile, and we spent one day there. And then we spent several days in Buenos Aires, which was where we disembarked. And so we went kind of down the coast of Chile and around. And so because this was a fairly large ship and not an expedition ship, there was only but so close you could get. So the way that we were in Antarctica for several days was that the ship went into the Antarctica bays and moved ever so slowly, and you spent
But
all
you had
of
to keep
daylight.
moving.
I beg your
They
pardon?
had to keep moving.
Yes, that's
Because
the
you're
rule,
on a-
and
yeah, you're a
and
cruise
it's a
ship,
ship,
so the
yeah.
cruise ship has to cruise,
Keep
not
moving.
dock.
Cruising. There was actually in those circumstances, no place that a ship like that could have docked. And even smaller expedition ships, there was very little place to dock. And in Antarctica, the only thing really in terms of people, every country that explores in Antarctica has kind of a shed, it maybe 3 or 4 rooms, and maybe there are 1 or 2 of them, depending on what country it is. and how often they send their scientists to explore. One of the lecturers on our ship, and that was sort of another nice thing about it, was that there were always lectures. They had a biologist, they had a bird person, and then they talked to you so that you felt comfortable with what you were looking at and readily could identify for as long as I was there, and I promptly forgotten. But in Antarctica per se, there was very little in terms of people.
No, they
And their
very
footprint.
strictly control it.
There's a
Yeah.
village called Esperanza with about 200 permanent residents. And
Where is
that's on
that,
the- on the
Anne?
Peninsula,
On where, honey?
on the peninsula, the Antarctic Peninsula.
The biggest place in terms of that area was the Falklands, and that was a real place in terms of habitation. Something had happened on the ship. We were supposed to spend 4 days in the Antarctica bays, but we only got to spend 3 because the captain came on and announced that there was a passenger who was critically ill, and they needed to go back to a place where, or not necessarily back, but that was the closest place to where the passenger could be airlifted.
Yeah.
Therefore, our
my
route
gosh.
would have to change, which is
Yeah.
really quite unusual. But so we changed our route and went back in the direction of Ushuaia, which was the largest place of all the places that we had passed, and some place that this person could be airlifted from. However, and the captain never said anything else about it again. So people were really curious, and not to be sort of grisly, but my sister met the captain in the elevator, and she said, not for nothing, and I'm sure you can't tell me, but sort of what happened to the person? He said, well, unfortunately, he died.
Mm.
So we kept thinking, why would you take a trip like that? I mean, he wasn't like struck by lightning, so he must have been either elderly or ill, unless this was his
There's a
bucket
lot of
list.
Bucket list. That's
Well, actually, he
That's-
turned out to be elderly and ill, and was accompanied by his wife, because the captain told us, and
It was
he had
their
been-
trip, they wanted to get one more trip in
yeah.
and
on
they
the
did.
bucket list.
That
Yep.
was the bucket
Yep.
list trip.
Of
And
course.
did you know that ships have, which I certainly did not know, morgues and jails? Neither one of which I
Makes
ever.
sense. Makes
You're not
sense.
surprised?
1,200 people?
Yeah.
That doesn't
Yeah.
surprise me.
When you
Really?
think of some of the big cruise ships that have thousands of people, you've gotta be prepared for things like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It would be such an odd place to commit a crime. I mean, you know, a jail.
There's a lot of reasons
A
why
lot of
somebody
people
might.
don't commit crimes that they've thought a lot about.
Or I can,
And some people think of crimes and maybe they know who's gonna be on the ship and
or I'd say,
Yeah.
I can see a lot,
people
on
do
some of-
fall overboard and we know that it's not accidental.
or when you think about
Yeah.
some of these cruises where they know that an 18-day cruise to the Antarctic, they're figuring people on there are probably well heeled. And you can get a thief that might figure they can go from stateroom to stateroom and steal
Crack the safes
valuables.
and stuff. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of reasons why somebody, I'm not saying a violent criminal, but yeah, a thief, scam
But there are
scam.
all these things
Yeah.
where people, let's go on a cruise, we hate each other, we're gonna get divorced. Well,
Now,
before
just
we
so
do
you
that, let's go on our cruise and see if we can't patch things up, and then if they don't.
Yeah.
I must say, you're all infinitely more imaginative and knowledgeable than I am. It never
maybe
occurred
more
to me.
cynical.
Maybe. It never occurred to me, actually. I was greatly intrigued. Saying all of that, I absolutely positively would recommend the trip, it was mind-boggling. And Anna's wearing her Antarctica
Yeah.
jacket, she brought it.
Oh,
We
yeah.
had a smaller ship, MS from, built in Norway for Arctic waters. And
How
with
many people
icebreakers.
were on it?
It would carry 800. I think we had about 600. Just small enough that we could
You could die.
land on the peninsula.
Yeah.
Because there were a lot of people checking off number 7 and
Yeah.
I wanted my passport stamped Antarctica,
Oh,
but
yeah.
they stamped it Argentina because they were
Ah.
trying to claim it, but
Ah.
nobody can claim it. There are treaties.
Better than Shackleton's trip. that's for sure.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Shackleton movie? Or
Um,
the old one?
I'm sure Marty
Yeah.
has. No,
So
I didn't.
My brother was a physical oceanographer and he mostly studied the southern oceans and he would always show his crew the Shackleton movie before they went, so they would take it seriously.
Yes, you take those drills
So,
very seriously. I have to say, though, that was the other thing that was sort of a little bit surprising. It was smooth as glass. So not only did I anticipate freezing to death, but I also anticipated crossing the Drake Passage and feeling sick as sick could be. And I'm not a seasick person at all, ever. But we brought patches, we brought things that send impulses to your wrist, who the hell knows? Nothing. It was smooth as glass, and it ended up because of this person's illness that we needed to go through the Drake Passage twice. And twice, absolutely.
Amazing.
We were
Smooth
lucky
as
too. It
glass.
was smooth sailing all through the Drake Passage, and on the way back, there were suddenly 32 humpback whales in
Oh,
close to the
goodness.
ship, and the captain stopped the ship for an
So you
hour and a
could
half
watch.
so everybody could get a good look.
Oh, yeah.
Did you go in February as well?
No, it was December.
December? Mhm.
It was midsummer.
There are refreshments over there. If anyone.
If you want to think about strange gales,
Mm.
when I was on a polar bear expedition, the town of Churchill has a polar bear jail.
They put
Oh.
naughty polar bears? Who did they put?
Polar bears will wander into the town.
Oh.
So if they can catch them, they put them in the jail until they can take them back.
Relocate them.
Yeah,
Oh.
we thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
They're in danger.
Well, that
Thank
was,
you.
yeah, thank you. That was, we had the ice theme today, so.
Good day for it.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe we should have
Thank
done
you.
the other 90 degrees.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Well, the weather here is
Yeah.
like that.
We're gonna enjoy these cooler days before it gets hot again.
Well, we're signing off, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for hosting.